First, to the developing story that's had the world hooked. Novak Djokovic has won his case against the Australian government and will be released from detention immediately. His lawyers today successfully challenged the cancellation of his visa. He's now entitled to remain in the country to defend his Australian Open title. And the Dean of Law at the ACU, Professor Patrick Kayser, was following today's proceedings closely, and he joins us now. Patrick, were you surprised by this outcome?
Yes, look, I don't agree with Mr Djokovic's stance on vaccination, but I thought that his legal submissions in the case were very strong.
Obviously, this is embarrassing for the federal government, and the Immigration Minister, Alex Hawke, does have some discretionary powers. What can the government do now?
Well, as you know, the Prime Minister is very invested in the outcome of this case, and he did indicate a few days ago that he was connecting this issue to his political brand, as it were, stop the boats and all that. So there's a bit of stake here, obviously. You're right, the Immigration Minister could step in and find other grounds to cancel Djokovic's visa, but that might seem a bit churlish at this point. Alternatively, the court could allow the court ruling to stand. The government could allow the court ruling to stand, rather. But that would make the Prime Minister's stance about strong borders seem a bit hollow. After all, if the borders are so strong, how did one of the world's most notorious anti-vaxxers just walk through our supposedly quite strong borders?
Professor Kayser, you said that Novak Djokovic's lawyers presented quite strong arguments today. What did it all boil down to in court?
Well, Djokovic's team argued that because he had COVID in December, that provided him with a medical exemption under the ATAGI guidelines. And they said that Tennis Australia was merely following these guidelines. But the federal government's legal team had quite a different take on the ATAGI guidelines. They said that you could only rely on those guidelines if you had experienced an acute medical condition. And they referred to evidence, well, they referred to the fact that there was no evidence of that. There was no evidence that Mr Djokovic had become unwell. The federal government also pointed out, their barrister pointed out that if he was asymptomatic, he could have commenced a course of vaccination before he got on the plane. But in the end, the judge preferred the submissions of Mr Djokovic, and away we go.
So what does this mean for any other Oz Open competitors who have already been kicked out of Australia?
Well, each case is decided individually, of course, and there might be some other reasons why those people had their visa cancelled that we don't know about at this point. Having said that, this case does provide a precedent. They could pick up this case and come right back to Australia and argue that it applies to them. There just might be a question of whether some of them could get here in time, given the fact that the tennis is about to start.
All right, Professor, thanks so much for your time this evening.
My pleasure.